Well, you all know Sai and me, and Thao and Mee Moua, state senator, state representative. Basically here today, I'll be answering your questions, but we have here sort of a timetable of starting with when I and several senators, including Amy, sent a letter to the Thais in anticipation of the repatriation of about 4,500 Hmong from refugee camps in Thailand. We were very worried that these Hmong would be repatriated to Vietnam, to Laos. In anticipation of that, wrote a letter, and then it subsequently happened. And there's basically a timeline here of what I've done, what our office has done since then, including having a couple of community forums for the Hmong American community. One in January after the repatriation to ask for the help of Minnesota Hmongs to let us know if their family, if they're hearing from family who's been repatriated. Also pledging to have the U.S. Ambassador Ravik Huso come to St. Paul when the next time he was in the United States, and that was our second forum. And that was, both were very well attended, I think the second even more. And then I also pledged to go to Laos and at the first opportunity, and I did really over it was over the 4th of July week, and went to Vietnam with Senators Harkin and Sanders. Franny and I took a side trip to Vientiane, and then went by helicopter, an old Soviet helicopter, to the resettlement village. Before that, I had consulted with Ambassador Huso when he was here in June, about the couple times that he had been to the village, and also with Deputy Secretary of State Schwartz, who had been also there once. Neither time did they have complete access to the folks there, and this sort of repeated itself. We flew by helicopters, I'd say about an hour and a half. The village is named Phone Com. It is almost due east of Vientiane, a little northeast, a little north of the Mekong. It's sort of on the edge of a forest preserve that the international community is paying to have. And there were about 350 people there before who are not Hmong. And what I had known was that there are about 650 new homes that built them, the rudimentary one-room homes there. We saw those from the air. And landed and were led to, taken in a truck to a building that where we were greeted by about 8 to 10 actually beautiful Hmong teenage girls who were in traditional garb, and then brought into this building, which was lined with bags of rice, as the cruise into the ocean Lao government way of saying, you see, for giving them rice. And then about 150 folks who seemed to be pre-selected were there, and we had a young woman from St. Paul who served as our interpreter, who goes to Yale now. She is
the Charlie's daughter?
Yeah, yes. Who Chow works for Betty McCollum, and she was terrific. And the Lao American or Lao English interpreter was not so good. Who had been supplied by the Lao government. I was accompanied by a Lao general and by our ambassador and some others from the Lao government. The Lao general seemed to be was in his 60s and seemed to be of a certain era of Lao communist general, and just to say, I didn't feel entirely comfortable with him. He said some things during the meeting that, like, we provided this for you, not the Americans, and not the American Hmong, and things I thought were a little unnecessary. And I did ask questions of the folks there, and some of their answers did seem pre-screened. And the meeting took quite a while because of anytime you're interpreting anything, it's taking twice as long. And the folks there seemed obviously very happy, fairly happy. And then we got a tour of a market, which I wasn't sure what the purpose of the market of that was. I think the market might have been there for the 350 people that had been there previously. I don't know. There was no one in the market other than the merchants. And I did get to see some of the new homes, and some they had gardens and vegetables, and the land didn't seem like most. It wasn't Minnesota, southern Minnesota, loamy soil, but they were obviously working it. And each family gets 2 hectares. We saw the school that they were building, and I asked to be shown to meet more people in the village, and was denied that, and asked repeatedly, but the general was fairly adamant, and I followed the lead of Ravik Huso, our ambassador, and we left. And flew back to Vientiane and met with the deputy prime minister, expressed my dissatisfaction with the visit, had kind of a frustrating back and forth with him, talked about the 158 persons of interest, it's a designation that's given to people who deserve political refugee status. 158 of them by the United Nations High Command on Refugees have been interviewed and designated to be able to go to 3rd countries, 70 to the U.S., some to Australia, some to the Netherlands. Since the trip, then I did a press conference, and when I got to Vietnam from Hanoi, and talked about that trip and how I was not totally satisfied.